In this video, sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons, we're going to talk about something you probably have noticed, which is that I switched to Wilderburg. And if you are new to my channel, don't worry, I'll break down why it was that I was the Spring Wardens and why it is that I'm now Wilderburg. And there's really a couple things we're going to talk about. First of all, we're going to talk about the faction bonuses. Second of all, we're going to talk about the special unit, and the Wyvern Rider is pretty powerful. That is a relatively recent change to its ability to destroy stuff. But let's go get a look here at the bonuses for Wilderburg. It is 3% Legion physical attack and 10% destruction engineering. As it turns out, both of those are really good, and the destruction engineering is even more important the more close your group is to failing to destroy something fast enough. Now, there are several buildings where that might be the case. The number one building is going to be a spire. A spire sits into a choke and makes it a little bit more difficult to progress through that area. Here's one such spire. We're fighting against this thing right now. I figured I'd record a little video during a brief downtime in the fighting. So these spires, you've got to take down the shield, and then there's durability, and you have a certain amount of time to go and knock this thing out. That is one reason why you want some destruction engineering. So if we swing on back over here, the faction bonuses that I had before were for Spring Wardens, okay? So 5% march speed and 5% elixir production. Really great for just typical field fighting. And the alternative would be League of Order. 3% magic, Legion defense, and 10% overall gathering speed. So Wilderburg just feels like the more combat-oriented faction, but I also have been rallying and garrisoning with Goresh and Chisgule, which I wasn't expecting to do. 3% Legion physical attack, as I may have mentioned earlier, ain't much, but I'll go for every stat advantage I can possibly get, and 3% is what it's going to be. I'll take it. Now, just to give you a sense, we were rallying siege bastions. These things are ridiculous, and Goresh and Chisgule are insanely OP for garrisoning, for rallying. Infantry do it all, which is wild, but I'll show you just some of how this was going. 67,000 to 86,000, and I'll just scroll through this report. It took a while to get to this point where I figured out sort of the exact combination of things I thought might get to a better trade. But let me tell you, these bastions are crazy, man. And, you know, as I scroll through this, I think every time they swap captains, it gives me a little report here. So, you know, we're doing all right in these reports. I'd say this is all right. But, you know, like, shouldn't rallies trade positive against non-garrison captains? Shouldn't there be a way for rallies to trade positive? The new cavalry we used, they do not do it, man. The infantry just clap, and it is what it is. All right, so this is what we were doing. This is why I switched. But I found another benefit, and that other benefit of being Wilderburg actually kind of surprised me. And it's this unit right over here. It's the Wyvern Rider. So the Wyvern Rider was recently changed. And if we get a look at what they can do, of course, they've got their stats over here. It is a flying unit. It is an archer. And it's got, I guess, technically a marksman. And it's got medium range, just like all your other marksmen. Now, it says here, flying marksman can move over terrain. That is the same as it was before. Wildfire. When launching a normal attack, you have a 30% chance to increase your hit points by 2%, and normal attack damage by 6% for 3 seconds. Only takes effect when a legion is composed entirely of Wyvern Riders. And then finally, bombing run. Can destroy buildings from a long distance. Only takes effect when your legion is composed entirely of Wyvern Riders. So the cool thing about the Wyvern Riders is that they can destroy from afar. So your Wyvern Riders could be here on the water, hitting the spire over here. And that is really, I think, a perk I had not expected from Wyvern Riders. So it is pretty cool. Now, for those of you looking for a season update here, we're having a pretty tough Dragon Zone. So our allies were locked out of their Zone 6 right before the Dragon Zone opened. And the reason, by the way, is specifically this one bastion and how, we'll just say, how interesting of a mechanic it is that like 3 whales can basically hold a bastion against an entire alliance. But it is what it is, and that's how it works. So we were just dominating this part of the map until we got locked at a bastion, and there was no way around it. And like I said, it is what it is. No amount of players can change that. It's the combination of make way, plus garrison is cracked, plus infantry just lose so slowly that like 3 whales can sustain infinitely at one of these bastions. So we basically were prevented from any further progress. Our allies got pushed out of their zone. And it has been interesting because our allies have been earning back this zone while we got 2v1'd in the dragon zone. And like, we're like 20 billion power against 40 billion power in the dragon zone. And that's an overgeneralization. But I have been extremely impressed for our ability to hold against that. That's actually kind of insane. But thankfully, our allies have pushed through and also have been able to do a bunch of fighting against them as well now, and are drawing their attention, which is huge. And so if you get a look over here, our allies, their alliance shell AC, was able to burn their way out of this pass, reconnect some territory, burn over, reconnect territory, and then use fast building to reconnect territory and get into this area over here, drop a fort, and get established. So they are established now, but they've got a hell of a fight, just like we do. But at least now we're dealing with a 2v2, right? The opposing side has a massive territory advantage from us 2v1ing in Kingsland for as long as we had to do. But now it's a 2v2 again, and I'm hyped that our allies are here. This is huge. I mean, this is a huge difference. It's a huge difference compared to not having this. This is awesome. And they've done a great job of kind of getting back in. But now, I don't know. Where do we go from here? A little bit to be determined. For now, we've got this area up over here where there's a shell that's being blocked. The enemies have got the top of the dragon, and they've got the whole dragon area, really. And we've got stuff over here, and we were just sort of pushing this spire. But, there is something else that I'll make a video about. Probably not now, but if you were wondering, yes, this one artifact is actually insane. It might unironically be the best artifact in the game. It's the Staff of the Prophet. Didn't used to be the best artifact in the game, but now it is, probably. I mean, I actually don't know what's better. You can have a bunch of units get teleported to where you want to go, but I think I'll cover that in a separate video. Kind of hilarious. They set a rally on me. I mean, hey, yo, you want to set a rally on me? I mean, I'm online now. I got a bunch of troops in the hospital, but, resources can solve that. Claim my free elixir. I don't know. That's funny. They set on me, and I'm sure their leadership was like, bro, please don't feed him content. That has to be what just happened. That has to be it, man. Anyways, I'm going to get back to the fighting. If you enjoyed the vid, throw a like on here. Consider subscribing. If you want to see my previous video, I talked about the Tournament of Champions. Tournament of Champions is really fun. Check the card right over here. It'll walk through some of the basics and the initial impressions I've got from playing so far. It's a good one.